friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the channel. So there's been a lot of chatter over the past weeks, months, year, really, about how low the ratings for WWE Raw could possibly sink. I did a video a little while ago where I talked about what Raw could do just to be better in general, to help get their ratings up, or just creatively speaking, get them better. I feel like over the past couple weeks, anyways, Monday Night Raw has actually been pretty decent. Still hasn't been really must watch, but we're on the verge of having fans back. And you'd think that that energy would maybe boost the ratings up a little bit. So I thought I would do a video really quick and talk about why I think the ratings have been so bad. In fact, over the past couple years, why the ratings have been so bad. And it's interesting. I sat down. I didn't really know I was going to do this video, but I saw a couple tweets from Brandon Thurston from WrestleNomics, and I was like, Brandon, this is kind of interesting stuff. And so I started looking into it and doing some numbers and looking at viewership data, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, I could probably just do a video about this. So I figured it'd be cool to do a video about this. So I got 5 reasons, and there's really only one that matters, but there's a couple of interesting bits here. 5 reasons why the ratings have been going down on WWE Monday Night Raw for like the last, 5 years or whatever. Let's dive into this. Reason number 5 is the most obvious one over the past year, and it's COVID. I mean, that the PC era, especially of Monday Night Raw, was excruciating to watch. It was really boring. 3 hours of just people in the middle of an empty space, like a warehouse that's kind of barely decorated. It was kind of impossible to watch that. And you have to think that that really gave people a lot of reasons to dip out, to just be like, I'm not going to watch this anymore. This really sucks. I feel like nothing could have really been done about that. And it's kind of interesting because according to what I'm looking at right here, the ratings in 2019 on average were at about just under 2.5 million viewers per episode of Monday Night Raw. The average for 2020, it actually fell by it actually fell to 1.8 million viewers. So that's, if my math is correct, that's about 500,000 viewers that just sort of left from 2019 going into 2020. And who knows? I mean, COVID didn't really hit until right before WrestleMania, and that's where like a lot of the better numbers were. If I recall, a lot of 2020 was spent in the 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 million range. So COVID, there's nothing you could do about that. It was just a big, worldwide thing. Tons of like restaurants and businesses went out of business. So you would expect that WWE would be affected as well. So number 4, in my personal opinion, anecdotally speaking, is just the stunts that WWE pulls creatively. Kofi sacrificing his title reign to Brock in 8 seconds just to get a match with Cain Velasquez. You get empty promises like the McMahon shakeup from 2018, 2019. You have the weird 2 out of 3 falls era, half-assed execution like Raw Underground and Raw's third hour when they like blacked out all the lights. There's just a history of Vince McMahon and his predilections getting in the way of decent creative. And that's kind of the general spoiler alert. That's probably the main reason why the ratings are sinking into the ground. But then I stumbled upon this. This was very interesting. So number 3, and I'm going to lay this flat at the feet of Jinder Mahal, or at least whoever decided to pull the trigger on Jinder Mahal. This whole thing started because of this tweet right here from Brandon Thurston. It says, since 2016, web search for WWE has been in a free fall. Now he says 2016, but if you look very closely at this graph, you can actually see 2016, things were fine. And in fact, going into 2017 for the first couple months, they seemed fine. What happened in May of 2017?
Hell has frozen over.
Jinder Mahal became champion. And look at the Google Trends line after that. It's just going straight down. That's gotta be not a coincidence, right? It's literally the month that Jinder won the title that it starts going down. I didn't think one person could be. I had actually read this probably like a year ago or something, where the Google Trends data for all the WWE champions prior to Jinder were all at a certain level of positive numbers. Again, I'm not a numbers guy. I just remember this from some random memory of mine. And then ever since Jinder, from Jinder on, the Google Trends data has been for WWE champions, there by name, has gone down comparatively speaking, it's in the negative compared to where it was before Jinder. Jinder Mahal evidently was a Nexus event in the WWE, and had Jinder never became champion, who knows, maybe something would happen. But anecdotally speaking, a lot of people look at Jinder Mahal's reign and they just understand that WWE did that to try to penetrate the market in India, which as a business, you should be doing that. You should be trying to expand into different territories and expand your reach and your marketability and stuff. But that was maybe for the time 5 years ago, one of the more blatant examples of the WWE sacrificing story for marketability. I mean, you always want to market your top stars. You always want to make sure that your top stars are marketable. But with Jinder Mahal, it seems like they went a little too far with that, because Jinder Mahal was never, I was researching, I was looking up a lot of the reviews for Jinder Mahal, for Backlash 2017. And there was like one guy who was saying, yeah, this basement dweller superstar Jinder Mahal is now WWE champion. How did that happen? He was savage, pretty bad. But yeah, evidently WWE's worldwide Google web search, Google Trends, has never recovered from Jinder Mahal, which is pretty interesting. Moving on. This was also very interesting. And I'm going to classify this as the Roman Reigns experiment. And I'm not going to put it all in the Roman Reigns experiment, but I was looking at the ratings, the total number of viewership for Monday Night Raw over the past 5 years or so, right? And something really crazy happened in the year 2018 around WrestleMania period. Now, the way the trend that I noticed in these numbers, generally speaking, going back 5 or 6 years, is that from January 1st until like the last week of WrestleMania, the numbers, the last week of WrestleMania month, the numbers are always the strongest for WWE of that year. So, for example, I'll give you an example here. In 2017, the total average number of viewers for Monday Night Raw was 3,081,000. All right, so 3.08 million. The first chunk of that year, from January 1st until the last week of April, it was 3.23.
You got an 8 1/3 chance of winning at sacrifice.
So about 150,000 more on average were watching in that first chunk of the month, because then after WrestleMania, you got like Money in the Bank, which there's some interest for that. SummerSlam is like, yeah, cool. But then you got this big lull. You got Survivor Series. Nobody really cares about that. And then you're back to Rumble season. It's the beginning of the year and everybody wants to watch again. So it kind of makes sense that that's the case. Usually at the beginning of the year is when people start coming back, because that's when Rumble season starts. What happened in 2018 was very interesting, though, because they lost an abnormally large number of viewers. So like I said, in 2017, they lost on average about 150,000 viewers. In 2018, they more than doubled the amount of people they lost after WrestleMania. You had 3.3 million on average watching in the first chunk of the year up until after WrestleMania. And the average for that year ended up being 2,800,000. So they had lost about 500,000 from, if you compare the total yearly average to that first chunk of time, which is abnormal. Usually the drop off is a lot less. And I looked at the actual numbers here. And so WrestleMania, like the Raw after WrestleMania, for example, averaged 3.9, so almost 4 million. By the end of that month, they were down to just over 3 million. And you could point to maybe the NBA playoffs, but still, that's a really, really big drop. The Raw after Mania almost did 4 million, and by the end of the month, they were down to 3 million. Now, it is skewed because of the Raw after Mania, but the episode after the Raw after Mania pulled in about 3.6, so they lost about 300,000, and then they lost another from April, the episode of Monday Night Raw, April 16th, versus the episode of Monday Night Raw, April 23rd. So in 1 week, they dropped 500,000 viewers. And then I was thinking to myself, and then by the time the end of May comes around, they're down to 2.5 million. That's a massive drop. That is like a huge drop right there. That's massive. And I got to thinking, what happened to WrestleMania 18? The main event, Brock Lesnar defeated Roman Reigns by pinfall for the WWE Championship. And then I went and looked at some of the reviews because I was thinking to myself, yeah, that was a crappy match, wasn't it? But that whole WrestleMania was kind of lame, to be honest with you. It says here, let's see, Dave Meltzer, the Wrestling Observer himself, had this to say about the WrestleMania 34 main event. It was physical as hell, but the crowd seemed to react more to beach balls in the crowd and didn't even pop for Reigns' kickouts. It says here, Meltzer felt the match was, quote, done for sympathy for Reigns when it was over to make him a babyface as they concentrated on showing him all beaten up. But nobody accepted that. It had been years. And I wonder if after 34, people were just over it. Wade Keller of PW Torch describes the Lesnar-Reigns main event as a disaster. Keller noted that the tired and disinterested crowd had booed Reigns and chanted CM Punk boring and this is awful. I don't know who this is, but his name is Troy L. Smith, and he wrote at the time for Cleveland.com. He said, in my mind, Lesnar-Reigns is one of the 4 worst WrestleMania main events ever, based on build, execution, and media aftermath. I mean, I don't know necessarily that WrestleMania 18 was an inflection point, but man, in 2018, they lost a ton of viewers in the middle of the year, and they never really seemed to recover after that. It's kind of interesting. And then, of course, my last reason for why WWE is losing ratings is because this is sort of what they do. If you look back on 20 years of viewership data, in the last 20 years, there has only been 4 years where the ratings ticked up instead of down. 4 years out of 20. And the last time it happened was in 2013. It moved up by like a point in the rating system. It went from 4 million to, it moved about, they averaged about 100,000 more that year than they did the year prior. In 2009, they moved up quite a bit. 2006, 2005, they moved up. But beyond that, it's just a series of declines and drops, some more dramatic than others. 2015, they dropped, almost 500,000 viewers. In 2016, almost another 500,000 viewers on average. 2017, a slightly less drop. 2018, another drop of about 200,000 or so. And then 2019, it dropped another 400,000. And then 600,000 or so, 500,000 in 2020 because of COVID. Monday Night Raw just drops viewers. And is it because of long-term creative issues? Could be. I feel like people still keeps tabs on it. This is another interesting stat right here. This article just came out a couple months ago, and it talks about cord cutting since 2015. This was written by Lee Rainey, and I'll link to the article. I don't know exactly what publication this was, but there is a Pew Research survey. It says the share of Americans who say they watch television via cable or satellite has plunged from 76% in 2015 to 56% this year. 71% of those who do not use cable or satellite services say it's because they can access the content they want online, while 69% say the cost of cable and satellite service is too high, and 45% say they often do not watch TV. WWE makes it incredibly easy to keep up with their product on YouTube. I literally, if you get on Twitch on any given Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is Impact, or Friday for SmackDown, it is super easy to find high quality streams that are basically being pirated on Twitch of WWE and AEW content. It's remarkably easy to stay current with the product. A lot of people just anecdotally have stuck with going in Raw because they just and they don't listen. They don't actually watch Monday Night Raw. They just listen to our recaps of it. So regardless if they're consuming it through a podcast that recaps it, or YouTube clips, or any number of the other ways you can watch it where it doesn't register in the ratings, that's simply where everything is turning to. Or even like GIFs on Twitter. If something cool happens, you just turn to Twitter and it's there. And I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means for the future. I don't know that AEW is necessarily going to overtake WWE in the ratings even 5 years from now, because I think that trend in TV is simply going to continue. If AEW is able to put together a long-term creative strategy that rivals WWE's, maybe in like 5 to 10 years, we'll see that play out. I kind of feel, to be honest with you, I kind of feel like AEW's presentation is a bit antiquated, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to pull in new fans. They could probably pull in lapsed fans or casuals or whatever. Or I'm sorry, just lapsed fans. But I don't know that their presentation is going to be what works. Maybe it will. I don't know. I mean, they've been around for 2 years now. When did they start? 2019? Yeah, they started in 2019. So yeah, it's been almost 2 years now. And yeah, I mean, they're still just sort of hovering around. But again, they've been affected by COVID too. So who knows? I don't know. I don't have any answers. I thought the 2016 Jinder thing was kind of interesting. I thought the 2018 WrestleMania period was interesting too, because it seems like just a lot of people are like, yeah, fuck this. You guys don't know what you're doing with the reigns. Anyways, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments below. I don't really have any big conclusions or anything. I just feel like things are just changed. They're just different. But yeah, WWE just in general, they just lose viewers. That's what they do. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. I'm sure there's a lot of great discussion to be had here. Keep it civil. Check out one of my other videos. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I really do. Till next time, I'll talk to you later.